Dr. Kamakoti, distinguished guests at the dais, award winners, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my pleasure to be here in Chennai for this function. This is a very kind of a technical-oriented seminar and workshop. And yesterday you had a lot of discussion on that front. I have kind of for last 10 years moved away from that, as has already been mentioned. So what I'll talk about something else related to quality. I personally feel quality has two aspects. One is sustainability. In the sense, quality sustains businesses, quality sustains products, quality sustains environment. So sustainability is built into quality. Other is, it depends on the situation. It is what kind of situation is there, what kind of context is there. So contextuality is important too. For example, in auto industry, if you were to go back 20, 25 years ago, we had what is called Bharat Stage 1 norms. Based on the context that was valid at that point in time. Today we have Bharat Stage 6. So a lot of things have changed, a lot of things have been tightened as far as emission norms are concerned, safety norms are concerned, and things like that. So the context has changed, and therefore the quality norms have changed. And this is something we must be quite conscious of. It is not quality at any cost for anything. So we must keep in mind quality is sustainable and quality is contextual. Having said that, I will be talking about mother of all qualities, and that is leadership. Because it is leadership which actually brings the quality into any organization, any product. And that is important. So I'll go back 2,500 years ago. We have all heard of Alexander the Great, who became king at the age of 20, created the largest transcontinental empire ever in the world at the age of 32 when he died, in 12 years' time. Or somewhat contemporary to him, Chandragupta Maurya in India here, and his son Ashoka, who built the largest empire ever in India. So how did they lead? They led from the front because personal valor was very important. The weapons could go only either by hand or by javelin, which could be few meters, or they could go on horses, or they could go at best on elephants. Elephants only in India, not that side. So they had to fight, they had to lead from the front. What's happening today? Do you have the general right there? Is he fighting with his sword, a gun, a pistol, or whatever it is? No. So the whole context has changed because of technology. Now I have drones, I have tanks, I have this thing, the range guns which have range of 100 miles or even 1,000 miles, missiles are there. So the whole conduct of war itself has undergone change, and therefore it's no more being led from the front, although people say it, you're leading from the front. It's no more physically from the front. There is no that way one person who's kind of right up in the front there. Yes, sometimes you have to go to the troops to raise the morale. As far as business world is concerned, this is only 300 years old because it really started after Industrial Revolution. The mass manufacturing started, and therefore organizations had to be built up, a structure had to be created, and therefore systems had to be created, and that's how I think over and over again, the businesses, the organizations began to have that. And therefore, they had to adapt something or they had to take something. They could not invent something. So where to invent from? So it was the easiest because wars and military have been successful in the past several years. And therefore, they adapted those kind of structures and those kind of things. So we started with hierarchical organization, top-down approach, and there was one leader, one face, one this thing. In the West, in last study about leadership and all that has been there on last 100, 150 years only. Mainly centered from the US and of course now across the world. And all these things were kind of promoted. That was good for that context. But today context has changed. It has changed dramatically. There is no certainty. We are living in a very uncertain world. We are living in an unpredictable world. We are living in a very complex world. We are living in a world where the tsunami of information is just overwhelming all of us. I forget the name of the professor at MIT who had said a few years ago, the information generated in 1 year today gets generated in 1 week. That was some time ago. Now that's 1 week has become 1 day, and soon it will become one hour. So the kind of information that we are being bombarded with is humongous. And we are seeing today the AI, whether it's the generative AI and all that, is based on data. I'm also connected with some health area, medical thing, where AI is becoming a huge thing. So in this kind of situation, where no one person can really be seized of all the information, can be seized of doing things, has to have a collectiveness. And people have to be strong in different fields, and this coming together of that the organization can really create leadership. Therefore, the concept of leadership today is changing from, in a way, leading from the front to something else. And we need to understand as to what that something else is. And I think this is important because I mentioned that as quality is contextual, so is leadership contextual. And if we are going to have appropriate leadership for these times, it cannot be leading from the front. Today, leading from the front is broken. Other thing is, because leading from the front is also associated with very egoistic, know-all leaders who feel that everything has happened because of them. If the business has done well, it's because of them. 90% is this. So he is the face, not only face, he acquires the entire success to himself or herself. Now, this kind of egoistic, know-all people or leaders are not wanted anymore by the younger generation. The younger generation detests such kind of leadership. So on one side, you have complex world where the one person cannot be in charge. Other side, you have today's generation which do not want that kind of leadership. And therefore, we have to think of some other formula. So, looking at all that, something I have lived by in last 5 decades of my experience is some other way of. I've never led by leading from the front formula, so to say. I led by something else, whether it was my first company, Hindalco, or mid company, say Hawkins pressure cookers, or Titan watches, where we started off, or Philips, or LML Vespa, or Tata Motors, where I finally spent 15 years. Where the turnover went from $1.6 billion to $39 billion in 15 years. 39. And a number of things were done. Of course, new products were introduced like ACE, which doubled the commercial vehicle market, or a very innovative product like Nano was launched. Unfortunately, it didn't become a commercial success, but it was fantastic as far as innovation is concerned. Or going outside the country and taking over, say, Daewoo Truck Company or Jaguar Land Rover, things like that. So a number of things were done. So one is, of course, Tata Group itself by nature is not that kind of place where you go and tom-tom yourself and open your chest and say, I have done it. Number two, I also personally felt this is not the right way, and I've been doing that for several years. So about 3 years ago, somebody said, and people have been asking, why don't you write book on this and that? And I've been very reluctant, but because when you write a book, you're talking about yourself, your point of view. So I didn't want to talk about I. So 3 years ago, somebody said, okay, why don't you distill your learnings? So I said, it's a good idea. So I worked backwards from there, started thinking. So I asked one person in advertising who has been fellow worker, or so to say, fellow colleague for a long time. So I asked him, how do you think I have been working? You tell me. So he said, Ravi, you lead from the back. And that's how the whole concept started. So I started deconstructing what does it mean. So I put together all these things in a simple form. Actually, it has been done in a parable way, like fables, it's a story. And it has been done, and I'm just pleased to tell you that this has been I'm not a parable writer, and therefore I took help from 2 American authors, and we have put together a small story on how to lead from the back. And this book has just been published last week, and I'm glad to announce that. And it's a simple story form, and because my target audience is only young people and not very senior people, it is only in paperback, and cover price is only 299 rupees. Just to make sure that anybody can just pick it off the shelf. Because it is meant for young people, young audience. So that at least they can think, okay, there could be some alternative to leading, because I don't like leading from the front, and therefore, what kind of other things I need to look at. I'm not saying you should follow this, but at least it gives you some food for thought. You may pick up 1 or 2 things and do, and not pick up, that's for you, but it gives you, for you to think about an alternative. So just coming to the end, I'll repeat again, quality is for sustainability, and quality is contextual. And so is leadership for sustainability, and leadership is contextual. Thank you very much.